I'd like to thank the Saskatchewan Library Association again for hosting One Book, One Province. Please take some time to listen to Paul as he goes through some of his readings from his book, Blanket Toss Under the Midnight Sun. I want you to sort of go back as well. Some of you that are young, you might be intrigued by this, to actually have somebody read a book to you. Some of us that are a little bit older, I want you to reflect back. I'm remembering being on the reserve, closing my eyes, listening to the radio, and the occasional evening, a story would be told over the radio. It was so beautiful. So I think by doing this as well, you'll now enter another part of my world, to be reintroduced to storytelling in a different form as well, by being orated to you. So please, if this entices you to pick up a book, or actually read the entire book, please, I'm hoping your yearning for learning and reading is intrigued by the Saskatchewan Library Association continuing to invest in literature and new literature that's starting to arise in the province. So thank you again, Jay Miigwech. Have a great day.
Hello, Tanze. My name is Paul Seesequaisis, and I am the author of the One Book, One Province 2021 selection, Blanket Toss Under Midnight Sun. Let me tell you a little about myself. My family's from Beardy's Okamasis, which is First Nation, about 45-minute drive north of Saskatoon. I've lived in Saskatchewan most of my life. On and off I've traveled, of course, but my family and my roots are here. My mum was one of the first registered nurses, Indigenous registered nurses in the province of Saskatchewan, and was always an inspiration for me. I've also worked as a writer, curator, archivist, self-taught archivist of Indigenous images and photographs. One Book, One Province aims to increase literacy and to create a reading culture by providing opportunities for residents to become more socially engaged in their community through a shared story. One Book, One Province encourages Saskatchewan's social, economic, and cultural development while supporting libraries and collaboration. In that spirit, I hope that you will enjoy this reading and be encouraged to visit your local library or independent bookstore to borrow or buy or read more. The Saskatchewan Library Association would like to thank Sask Lotteries, who provide funding to Sask Culture, and in turn, the Saskatchewan Library Association. We also owe a big thank you to the Saskatchewan Writers Guild, whose sponsorship helps to make One Book possible, and also for their assistance in promoting the project. The Saskatchewan Library Association's work and support reaches lands covered by Treaties 2, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 10, and the traditional lands of the Cree, Dakota, Dene, Lakota, Nakota, and Saulteaux peoples, and homeland of the Métis. The Dene hamlet of Jean Marie River is located about 500 kilometers west of the Yellowknife, Northwest Territories. In the days before treaty, the Dene, like other Indigenous nations, had only one name to themselves. The federal government, with the aid of missionaries, began arbitrarily assigning surnames to people in the region. In the Jean Marie River region, most families were descended from three sisters, Marguerite, Sophie, and Cecile. In many cases, first names or nicknames became the new surname. Marguerite married Baptiste Norwegian, and their son Louis Norwegian became a respected leader in Jean Marie River and guided the development of the community for many years. He was a key player in what would be a unique chapter in the history of Canada's residential and day schools. When the government officials came to the community to take the children away to school in Fort Providence, the adults of Jean Marie River said no. Louis Norwegian was a big reason behind this refusal. He was haunted by the cries of women he'd heard at night, who were missing their children hundreds of kilometers away, and also by the suicide of his young son who had attended the residential school. Norwegian and other prominent community members lobbied the local MP for their own school and finally managed to convince him of their need. Permission was granted, but there was no funding available for the building. In time, the hamlet was able to raise enough money selling fish and lumber to fund the construction of the schoolhouse. The next challenge was to find a teacher, an especially difficult task since there was no money to pay for one. Teresa Carteret, an anthropologist who was studying the Dene of Jean Marie River, along with anthropologist and photographer June Helm, volunteered to teach in the school's first year. In exchange, Norwegian promised Carteret all the firewood and food she would need for the whole year. Norwegian arranged for a barge load of logs to be shipped along the Mackenzie from Peace River, Alberta. Men from the hamlet chipped in and put up the new schoolhouse. The barter arrangement with Carteret allowed the school to open, and by the fall of 1951, Carteret was teaching outdoors on the banks of the Mackenzie River when weather allowed. Although she only taught for the first year, her volunteering gave the people of Jean Marie River the chance to establish themselves for the following years. More than 100 students eventually received their first education in the schoolhouse, attending up to grade 6. Later, the federal government began offering support, and in 1980, a new school was built in Jean Marie River. It was named the Louis Norwegian School.